Toby, welcome to the ExchangeWire kitchen.
Thank you.
It is lovely
Lindsay.
to have you here.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
I first want to find out kind of what your coffee choice is and why you chose it.
I feel as though I've done the most boring thing in the world.
Go on.
For a classic skinny latte.
That is so dull.
It's really boring, isn't it? But good. So I was saying, I used to live in Australia, and so the coffee culture was so obsessive there. When I came back to London, I just can't find the same love for it. I can't find. Although where we are, there's some pretty good coffee shops. So
there are.
And that's very tasty. So maybe I need to work a bit harder.
We are lucky in the area of Holborn and Clerkenwell and Farringdon in London. Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely right. I've gone for my classic decaf cappuccino. Very boring.
Not just based on size, based on...
Well, I do enjoy a vat of coffee.
Yep.
I do enjoy it, but also because I mentioned previously, I'm very clumsy and I spill everything, and it's got enough foam to stop me spilling stuff.
But in your special cups, right, there is
no
way
that's true.
That you could spill.
You are right, yeah.
Is that why you got them?
I should change things just for my benefit because I'm that clumsy, probably. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming in. Before we kick off, let's talk about a bit about you and kind of what your career looks like, also what you're doing at Kepler and etc.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Well, it's lovely to be here. It's lovely to have this conversation. Thank you for the coffee as well, which is very tasty. So I've only been at Kepler a really short amount of time. I've only been at Kepler for about 3 months. I've always known Kepler, so I've been a media agency guy, and I've been a media sales guy, and I've been a media tech guy, and I've done that in Australia and the US and around EMEA and APAC. So I kind of, I've always sort of known of all the different businesses that sit, I suppose, across the ecosystem. And I've always liked Kepler because they took a very specific point of view on media. They weren't just that big kind of holdco just trying to, rinse out as much money from their clients as they could, but instead sort of set a standard of how they could try and build for the future, but also think about, how they did so incredibly transparently and really openly. So I know the founders, I was really impressed by them, I love what they'd built, and so when the opportunity came up, I suppose to do something which felt like really building something, I just jumped at it. It was too good to turn down.
Amazing. The topic we are covering today is Generative Engine Optimization, GEO. So I want to get an understanding from you as to kind of what that is doing to your clients, to your team, kind of how they're planning, kind of what that looks like. Kind of how is GEO affecting general strategy, general thoughts around AI, kind of general approach to search more generally. Kind of we'll get into all of that, but kick off. Kind of what does it mean to you?
Yeah, definitely. So everyone says we're at an inflection point. It's a constant phrase. Oh, things are changing, things are evolving. I mean, we are absolutely at an inflection point with what's happening with GEO, with AI, and with search. Incredible shifts taking place.
Yeah.
And the truth is that not everybody is setting themselves up for this. They're not ready to start iterating, not ready to start testing. I mean, the way the world used to be, that very human-centric, emotional approach to building messaging to clients has changed.
Yeah.
And so now what used to be a lovely search environment where you could search loads of things and go to lots of, blue tags everywhere, a lot of that funnel journey, as used to be described, as happening in one chat session. So it's been incredibly shortened. And that fundamentally is changing, of course, how we operate and also how we respond to that. The most fundamental thing is how do we guide clients through that?
Yes.
Because it has to be around kind of structuring our thinking around that. So rather than kind of making it up or just having a theory about it, what Kepler's done is they've built a product called Kip AIR. And so what that does is a recommendation index for how brands show up in different geos and different environments within the large language models. So then you can start seeing against a number of different parameters actually how you perform, whether you are recognizable, whether you are relevant, actually how that content is performing. And so that is a really great position for us to take to our clients to understand, first of all, where we are, but then, and I said, this has to be about iteration, how we evolve these things. You need somewhere to start from. You can't just kind of guess where you are and, hope is not a strategy. You can't just hope that you're going to plan your way out of it. Instead, start from somewhere and evolve to where you're going to.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And you mentioned the inflection point there. Kind of what are clients coming to you with? Are they concerned about GEO? Are they concerned about the role that agentic more broadly is playing in advertising strategies? How's it playing out?
Yeah, I think clients are obviously very aware because their own behaviour is changing, right?
Yeah.
And I think if we look at it now, 60% of all retail environments are coming from chat rather than search these days. So clients are behaving it, seeing it themselves. You and I open our phone, and Gemini all of a sudden sends us somewhere rather than just those searched targets coming up.
Indeed.
So clients are very aware of it, but I also think maybe don't know exactly how to navigate some of those things. They've understood where they were. They know they need to make some changes. They know that this stuff will become table stakes, but maybe what they don't know is where the first steps they should take. I would argue there's always value in first mover advantage. I think it's really important for clients to test and to iterate and to try. I think you learn a lot very quickly. I definitely have worked with clients in the past who said, I want to fail second. And so what I want is people to invest in that space.
I'll wait and see.
Wait and see. Which obviously, is a way of doing it. We definitely are trying to navigate our clients towards learning. We think there's an awful lot to get right. So
because you're all learning as well, right?
Yeah.
So them learning also helps you in your learning.
Of course.
Yeah.
But there are some very basic things that we know that we can get right straight away.
Yeah.
So, obviously what the large language models do is they don't really care about your latest TV ad and the emotional effect that had. What they care about is what can be found on the internet about you. And so they care about your product pages, they care about what you said on your social channels, they care about the recommendations you've been given. So there is work we can do to resolve those things, to make sure they work as well as possible. And when I say work as well as possible, you want to show up consistently, you want to show up accurately, you want it to be truthful, and you want it to be consistent. And so those are things that we use Kip AIR to give us direction around and to sort of navigate our clients towards. So obviously we run audits that allows us then to evolve the product that sits behind that, the work that we do with them, and then allows us to then, as I said, sort of iterate and sort of evolve how we're operating with it.
It's a fascinating area, isn't it? Because GEO almost sits from that perspective in the middle of paid search and SEO, and the SEO teams are used to optimizing towards an engine, optimizing towards not a human, not a consumer. Paid search is quite the opposite. GEO sort of sits somewhere in the middle of that. So how are the teams navigating this new world of I'm not talking to a consumer, I'm talking to an engine, I'm talking to a bot?
And so you have to do both.
Right.
And so exactly right. So I'm a media planner, right? That's where lots of media people started from, was really caring about audiences and the message you supply to them at the right time, at the right place. Getting our planning right is the most crucial part to unlocking success in this space. And what that means is that we now have to advertise to both. So of course we have to advertise to humans still. That's really important. Being distinctive is still incredibly important. Having very specific brand assets that people can understand and find. Having the mental availability as well as the physical availability of the product. But now, actually, how do we also make sure the geo is working too, so that where there are agents, those agents are operating effectively on your behalf and are uncovering the brands that you need to have. So it's just got bigger. It's got more complicated, but the opportunity has also increased. And as I said, this will become table stakes. And so, unless we are operating and moving our clients towards this kind of thinking, and clients are testing it, then genuinely, I still think they're going to get left behind. And that's, as someone who represents clients, the thing you need to be doing is making sure clients are getting the best advantage they can. It's especially in these days, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So incredibly competitive, so difficult right now to find an edge. We need to be looking at every opportunity for our clients. And
I totally get the want of clients to, as you said, fail second, to kind of like, let's wait and see, let's see how things level out. But I suppose, from your perspective, there's not much levelling out going on. Things are changing so quickly. So how do you encourage clients that are maybe more reticent to kind of jump on the very fast-moving train, which is what it effectively is?
Well, actually, what I love about Kip AIR that I mentioned, this sort of recommendation index, is literally, it produces a report. The last one I saw only came out yesterday. It was for a very specific client. It was in Germany. And the detail, the accuracy, the opportunities it also uncovers, the insights that are created, and the actions that it recommends. Fundamentally, you look at this thing and go, wow, we should be doing this anyway. Because things just aren't showing up in certain places. And it talks about different LLMs and how we're operating in those or not. And so actually, you were given a playbook by something like Kip AIR. And again, for me, if there's an opportunity that's presented in front of you and you can see it's true and accurate, it's kind of bad if you don't actually do something about it. You know that you're leaving money on the table. And again, I think that becomes like something that clients understand, they appreciate, they see the opportunity, but they also see that there's revenue there that they should be trying to capture. And after all, that's our job. We're there to help our clients grow. And so if we spot an opportunity where we can help a client grow and then we aren't honest about that opportunity and don't try and push them towards it, then we're fundamentally failing our clients.
And what about from an infrastructure perspective, internally? So obviously, what is Kip AIR built on top of, versus what kind of the rest of the Kepler agency is, how that's structured. And I suppose within that, from a resource perspective, you mentioned earlier, you need to be able to do both in terms of talk to an LLM and talk to a consumer. Do you have one person? Can one person do both? Like, how is it set up internally?
Yeah, so obviously it's highly technical and complicated
of course.
and secret.
Yes. Do not share trade secrets, of course. No. Not what I'm asking.
But it's really
very vague.
Every agency has obviously moved towards building a technology spine that sits alongside everything they uncover about clients and opportunities that sit in them. Obviously, what we built is something that runs over the top of all the LLM. I could really find it hard to say LLM.
I agree with you, and I'm so pleased that you find it hard as well, because I fumble over it every single time.
LLM, it's really hard. I can also never say econometrics.
No, I can't say that.
It's annoying when you say I can't say that.
Statistically significant. I can't say that either, and I have to say it quite statistically significant. Too many S's and T's.
Yeah, it's amazing how, so Kepler is a business that came out of media math. So it's an engineering company at its heart, right? And I really feel that on a daily basis. So that when, in the previous holdcos I've worked in, you would go and try and build something, it was hard to find the engineers that really understood both the engineering opportunity as well as the marketing opportunity. Because this business is basically a bunch of really smart engineers who understand media, they operate in an entirely different way.
That is interesting.
And they kind of bring solutions to problems to you.
Yeah.
And we have this whole range of
problems you didn't know you had yet.
Quite often, I think, but also solving problems with a different perspective, which I think is really interesting, right? Because actually that's what you want, is you want the value of people who have learned things in different rooms and different experiences, bringing them to this table so that we can make great decisions again on behalf of clients. And that I find really refreshing. I've been really impressed at the speed of our ability to build new product, but also the sort of willingness to change it and evolve it and go, oh, you're right, that wasn't quite what we needed it to be. And there's this kind of openness to just sort of building tech, which does live in this business, which I think is quite refreshing. So, obviously we've gone to great lengths to build this. The beauty of it is that, we can continually run these reports. So as you make amends to the back end, as you make amends to, I suppose, the product that sits within the internet, you can see the financial effect of what that means to clients. So you can be quite specific about saying, well, we were here, we've moved to here.
Yeah.
That had X effect. And one of the things that is slightly missing for me in this space is the empiricism of that, actually what the data is, what the KPIs, what the measures are. The world is, obviously, funnels are collapsing as we've described. The world is moving much more towards outcome-based measurements and much more to financial-based ones. We look at how retailers are changing right now. And retailers leading many of these conversations, right? Walmart leading many of the AI
they
conversations
really are,
in
yes.
the US. And this is changing so fast, right? You look at what's going on even with the native advertising that's now available on some of those platforms in the US. Changes available here in a few weeks, right? How do we get hold of that? How do we evolve that really quickly? We have a position with them with our partnership with PackView that gives us a bit of an advantage, there, which is great. But again, it's about finding who are the partners, what are the opportunities, how do you jump on those quickly, and then how do you make them available to your clients? It's really exciting, right? You talk about inflection points, and we said that hope is not a strategy.
Yes.
When you're in an inflection point, and you have to do something about it. I mean, truthfully, I think that this is a reset rather than an evolution.
I like that, yeah.
Not everyone survives resets.
No.
Evolutions, everyone survives, right? But there's a danger that some people do get left behind. So, again, I point to clients in that space, but also I think agencies and all partners, we all need to be moving as fast as we can towards understanding the opportunity here and building on it.
I mean, that's a very, that's quite a statement to make. But I totally agree with you. I think you're absolutely right that not everyone's going to survive this. And is it about how fast you move, or is it about how pragmatically you look at your approach to it?
I think time will tell, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to say, we have to be really intentional, we have to make things move. It's an easy thing to say, but then you actually have to follow through on that. And we have to see actually what the effect of these things is going to be. I mean, there's a lot changing in the AI space right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So even I think in the last few weeks, we've seen huge evolutions in the cost of AI. To the point where we've got people now saying, I'm not sure that this mechanical cost, this cost of using AI is cheaper than the human cost we used to have. I mean, some quite big statements coming out of the US on that in the last week.
This is very true.
But I don't know, and you don't know, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but this is going to change. And again, I come back to the point of, well, unless we're testing and learning and trying, then how will we ever kind of find our way through it? And again, it is possible to wait, and it is possible to let other people fail first. But I just think that loses the opportunity right now, right? And potentially means that people won't be part of that reset. Yeah,
I guess you're right, and I guess it's hard to take a step back in this environment, isn't it? Because you're not really sure. Take a step back and have a broader focus, but the broad focus isn't probably giving you very much. So you have to, I suppose, just get stuck in.
I think so. You've got to try and be specific, and you've got to try and learn quickly. And again, I think we have a responsibility to our clients to do that. We have a responsibility to our industry to do that. If we just kind of sit back and let it all happen, then I think we're not moving things on the way we should, right? And just for all of us in our careers, that's also not that interesting, right?
No.
We all have a desire to move things forward, and so we should.
Yeah, and so you mentioned kind of the cost of AI versus the cost of the human. Kind of that it raises an interesting question about kind of what that looks like from an agency perspective, about how you're setting yourselves up when it comes to the person versus the agentic side of things, and what that looks like. How important is it to you to ensure that there is that balance and the human oversight versus kind of going, well, let's just bang everything into AI because that'll solve all our problems?
It's incredibly important, right? So because creativity and innovation are the two greatest determinants of success.
Indeed.
And so if we are not focused on having great people who can drive great innovation through great creativity, then we will be failing in terms of having the right people in place in our future. And that speaks to how we make sure that we bring in and retain great young talent. And this is a conversation that's been happening in our industry for a long time, particularly since COVID, right? When actually there were big gaps in smart young talent coming into the industry, and we've suffered because of that.
Yes.
We have an obligation, and as leaders of agencies, we have an obligation to bring really smart, brilliant people in, give them the tools to iterate and change and be creative and innovate and do the work for our clients. And I feel that very keenly. I mean, we as Kepler do. We're very focused on making sure we have the best possible people in the industry, but also we're giving them the best opportunities. We're growing them, we're developing them, because that is fundamentally what we still have. Everyone else has the same level of technology. They might apply different tools to it, but what we have is great people, and that is what makes a difference.
And that's so important, because also you then, I look back to how I started in the industry, and you said you started as a media planner. If we let AI take over everything, how would people like us even get into the industry anymore?
I mean, you have to have sparks of innovation.
You do.
You have to have great thoughts. You have to follow through on those. Of course, base them on evidence, base them on empirical data. Don't just make leaps into space. Instead, make educated directional choices. But you need smart people to do that.
Yeah.
And this is all about iteration.
Absolutely. That feels like a very philosophically positive place to end the conversation on.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in, Toby.
It's a pleasure.
Had a really good chat with you.
Thanks for the coffee. It was delicious.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Very nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you very much.
No problem. See you.
Bye.
Thanks.